Hi there, everyone. Welcome to The Daily Gardener. I'm your host, Jennifer Ebling. It's July 24th. Are you a fan of basil? A few years ago, I produced an entire segment on basil, and I called the show Basilmania. It was featured on the Still Growing podcast, and it was episode 573. At one point or another, we've all needed an introduction to basil and to pesto. So if you've never grown it or smelled it or cooked with it, I want you to go check out that episode. And if you're an experienced basil gardener, you'll also enjoy it because I take you through some of the amazing varieties of basil. Just know that there are over 100. And I give you some ideas for what you can do with the different varieties. From a growing standpoint, I share how to grow it from seed, how to propagate it. It's so easy, it's insane. Offer some basic cultivation tips and provide answers to some common questions about problems that folks can have growing basil. So check it out in the show notes today. There'll be links, or you can just go to your favorite podcast player and type in the word Basilmania. One word, Basilmania, and that show should pop right up. And again, it was on the Still Growing podcast, episode 573. Here's today's brevities. It's the birthday of Benning Wentworth, who was born on this day in 1696. Wentworth was the colonial governor of New Hampshire. Wentworth is important to North American gardeners because he brought the lilac to America, along with other trees and shrubs. In 1750, the first lilac was planted at the Wentworth home. In 1919, it was adopted as the New Hampshire State Flower because lawmakers felt it was symbolic of the hardy character of the men and women of New Hampshire, the Granite State. And it's the birthday of the man who created the Missouri Botanical Gardens, also known as Shaw's Garden or Hank's Garden. I'm talking about none other than the great Henry Shaw, born today in 1800. Shaw is easily in the top 10 of any list of great American botanical philanthropists. In addition to the Botanical Garden, Shaw built the Linnaean House in 1882. It's the oldest continuously operated public greenhouse west of the Mississippi, and it was originally designed to be an orangery, a place to overwinter citrus, palms, and tree ferns. And here's a little story I love that reveals Shaw's regard for the plants in his own garden. This was posted in the St. Louis Star and Times on April 5th, 1933. Mr. Shaw was escorting a lady through his gardens, pointing out objects of interest. The visitor said, "I cannot understand how you're able to remember all these difficult names." He replied with a courtly bow, "Madam, did you ever know a mother to forget the names of her children? These plants and flowers are my little ones." And today in 1938, the Miami News posted an article about pigeon peas. It began this way: "If English peas don't suit your palate, plant pigeon peas." That is the suggestion of a Miami pioneer, Charles Sulzner, who through the years has pointed out to newcomers the advantages of growing tropical fruits and vegetables. Pigeon peas, as Sulzner demonstrated in his spacious grounds, grow on trees and may be had by the simple process of picking. Pigeon peas make a lovely and distinct addition to any edible garden. The cultivation of the pigeon pea can be traced back more than 3,500 years. In Barbados, pigeon pea, was used to feed pigeons. Gardeners who love growing peas in the spring may thoroughly enjoy growing pigeon pea in the summer. It's a hardy perennial that can produce multiple harvests during the season. The sweet, fresh green peas are technically beans. They can be eaten fresh when green or dried. The dried beans need to be soaked before boiling. Pigeon peas have a nutty taste and crisp texture. The entire pod may be eaten. And here's a great bonus. The yellow-red flowers attract flocks of hummingbirds, and the plants are also nitrogen fixers and enrich the soil. In today's Unearthed Words, here's a poem from John Clare called July. Loud is the summer's busy song. The smallest breeze can find a tongue, while insects of each tiny size grow teasing with their melodies, till noon burns with its blistering breath around, and day lies still as death. Today's book recommendation is Planting in a Post-Wild World, Designing Plant Communities for Resilient Landscapes by Thomas Rayner and Claudia West. This book is how plants fit together in the wild and how we can use that understanding in garden design and plantings. The benefits of this kind of planting method involve much more management and less maintenance, in addition to more diversity and density in our plantings. Today's garden chore is to try designing a clock garden. The floral clock garden originated with Linnaeus. He hypothesized that flowers could predict time based on when they open and closed. You could make a clock garden much more simply by creating your wedges based on color or even by season, using spring, summer, and fall bloomers. Finally, here's something sweet to revive the little botanic spark in your heart. On this day in 1975, the Green Bay Press-Gazette shared a little notice for their Dial a Garden tip line. Readers could simply dial a number at any time and hear a taped garden message. Here were the topics posted in the paper for this past week. On July 17th, Russian olive diseases. On July 18th through the 20th, Dutch elm disease. On July 21st, you could call in and learn how to blanch vegetables, learn to grow cauliflower on July 22nd, and finally, on this day in 1975, you could have dialed in and learned about training young trees. Thanks for listening to The Daily Gardener, and remember, for a happy, healthy life, garden every day. The Daily Gardener is produced weekdays in lovely Maple Grove, Minnesota. You can find complete show notes over at thedailygardener.org, and be sure to share the show with your garden friends. You can find The Daily Gardener on all your favorite social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest, and of course, Facebook. While you're over at Facebook, don't forget to join the Daily Gardener community. Just search for these 3 words, Daily Gardener Community. The group will pop right up and then request to join. Finally, I want to thank my team at Podfly Productions, where my fabulous editor is Eric Begay. Have a great day in the garden, and we'll see you tomorrow.